When is the US war in Afghanistan really over? As the last US combat troops prepare to leave Afghanistan, the question arises, when is the war really over? For Afghans, the answer is clear but grim, no time soon. An emboldened Taliban insurgency is making battlefield gains, and prospective peace talks are stalled. Some fear that once foreign forces are gone, Afghanistan will dive deeper into civil war. Though degraded, an Afghan affiliate of the Islamic State extremist network also lurks. For the United States and its coalition partners, the end game is murky. Although all combat troops and 20 years of accumulated war material will soon be gone, the head of US Central Command, General Frank McKenzie, will have authority until September to defend Afghan forces against the Taliban. He can do so by ordering strikes with US warplanes based outside of Afghanistan. According to defense officials who discussed details of military planning Thursday on condition of anonymity. US officials said Friday that the US military has left Bagram airfield in Afghanistan after nearly 20 years. The facility was the epicenter of the war to oust the Taliban and hunt down the Al Qaeda perpetrators of the 9/11 terrorist attacks of America. Two officials say the airfield were handed over to the Afghan National Security and Defense Forces in its entirety. They spoke on condition that they not be identified because they were not authorized to disclose the handover to the media. A look at the end of the war. What's left of the combat mission? Technically, US forces haven't been engaged in ground combat in Afghanistan since 2014, but counter-terrorism troops have been pursuing and hitting extremists since then, including with Afghanistan-based aircraft. Those strike aircraft are now gone, and those strikes, along with any logistical support for Afghan forces, will be done from outside the country. Inside Afghanistan, US troops will no longer be there to train or advise Afghan forces. An unusually large US security contingent of 650 troops based at the US Embassy compound will protect American diplomats and potentially help secure the Kabul International Airport. Turkey is expected to continue its current mission of providing airport security, but Mackenzie will have authority to keep it as many as 300 more troops to assist the mission until September. It is also possible that the US military may be asked to assist any large scale evacuation of Afghans seeking special immigrant visas. Although the State Department led effort may not require a military airlift, the White House is concerned that Afghans who helped the US war effort and thereby vulnerable to Taliban retribution not be left behind. When he decided in April to bring the US war to a close, President Joe Biden gave the Pentagon until September 11 to complete the withdrawal. The Army General in charge in Kabul, Scott Miller, has essentially finished it already, with nearly all military equipment gone and few troops left. Miller himself is expected to depart in coming days, but does that constitute the end of the US war? With as many as 950 US troops in the country until September and the potential for continued airstrikes, the answer is probably not. How wars end? Online, unlike Afghanistan, some wars end with flourish. World War I was over with armistice signed between Germany on November 11, 1918, a day now celebrated as federal holiday in the US, and the later signing of the Treaty of Versailles. World War II saw dual celebrations in 1945 with Germany surrendering, marking victory in Europe, and Japan surrender a few months later as victory over Japan following the US atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. In Korea, an armistice signed in July 1953 ended the fighting, although technically the war was only suspended because no peace treaty was ever signed. Lately, violence in Afghanistan have escalated. Taliban attacks on Afghan forces and civilians have intensified, and the group have taken control of more than 100 district centers. Pentagon leaders have said there is medium risk that the Afghan government and its security forces collapse within the next 2 years, if not sooner. US leaders insist that only path to peace in Afghanistan is through a negotiated settlement. The Trump administration signed a deal with the Taliban in February 2020 that said the US would withdraw its troops by May 2021 in exchange for Taliban promise, including that it keep Afghanistan from again being a staging arena for attacks on America. US officials say the Taliban are not fully adhering to their part of the bargain, even as the US continues its withdrawal. NATO mission. The NATO Resolute Support Mission to train, advise, and assist the Afghan security forces began in 2015 when the US led combat mission was declared over. At that point, the Afghan assumed full responsibility for the security, yet they remained dependent on billions of dollars a year in the US aid. At the peak of the war, there were over 130,000 troops in Afghanistan from 50 NATO nations and particular partner countries. That dwindled to about 10,000 troops from 36 nations on the Resolute Support Mission, and as of the week, most had withdrawn their troops. Some may see the war ending when NATO's mission is declared over, but that may not happen for months. Thank you.